Hello, and a warm welcome to the Women of Crazy World podcast, a podcast that illuminates the extraordinary journeys, trials, and triumphs of remarkable women in enterprise across the African continent. Whether you're seeking motivation, valuable insights, inspiration, or a sense of belonging in a community that celebrates women's success stories, then these podcasts is definitely the right platform for you. We have found that sharing stories and experiences is one of the most effective ways to change minds and provoke actions. Our host, Cindy Dlamini, will be guiding us through life transforming narratives as she connects us with her Pan-African network of women making massive moves in the marketplace. We hope that these women's journeys ignite and inspire you. And now I would like to introduce our fabulous host, Cindy Dlamini.
Greetings to all the women of Crazy World out there. This is your host, Miss Cindy Dlamini, and I'm so excited to be taking the center stage alongside incredible women in various places and spaces across our African continent. Together we'll be sharing profound insights, winning formulas, as well as intertwining our stories of success and empowerment. It's important to note though that this podcast isn't just about storytelling, nor is it limited to an exceptional listening experience, but it's an actual fact a movement. And your tuning in every month is crucial to the rhythm and growth of this movement. Now, with that being said, I'd like to encourage you to assist us in growing our podcast community by simply sharing the podcast link with your women networks far and wide. Okay, so today we have Juliet coming through from Uganda. What a phenomenal sister. I've had a bit of a brief history with her, not a brief one, a long history with her during our AWAC program. Juliet, please kindly introduce yourself to our audience and just tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you, Cindy. My name is Juliet Kasiita. I was born, raised, educated, and I would say deployed for works here in Kampala, Uganda, and that is in East Africa. I'm a Christian and I've served in my church for almost, 26 years. I'm married to Henry Andrew Kasiita and I'm a mother of one daughter. My purpose is to help individuals and organizations gain clarity of their purpose and thereafter provide them with the necessary tools for them along this journey. That's what keeps me busy almost 365 days a year. I'm a graduate of Makerere University, Kampala, and I've spent most of my professional life serving in the private sector, specifically microfinance, banking, telecom, and non-profits. I've done this for the last 18 years or so. I've had the privilege of also being raised in a family of 6 siblings, and I believe also a family that I would say the most supportive family I know of. I enjoy having good meals with my family and traveling the world with a touch of fun, not just work. And I'm also passionate about building community. I'm passionate about women and everything that activates growth opportunities for women to become authentic leaders in Africa. I think I'll stop there, Cindy.
Wow, Jules, that's such a powerful introduction. Very, very amazing stuff there. I just want to take it the next question really with your upbringing. You've got so many siblings, you've got the supportive husband. I suppose it came later, but when you were growing up, really, who was, the greatest influential person as, growing up, your siblings, your parents, aunts, uncles, who was that?
I would definitely say my mother. My mother is actually an embodiment of resilience, love, persistence, discipline, and hard work. I think I grew up seeing just that. My mother, I think, taught us and my siblings at an early age to never give up. And I remember her favorite word was, "The world owes you nothing, and hence expect no excuses from you." It was a tough one at the time. She has always had special respect for strong moral values. To be specific, African moral values. That's what she actually knows best anyway. And my mom is so influential because she advocated for honesty, trust, as well as personal responsibility. Being a prayerful woman in the house, I must tell you that integrity was a non-negotiable. And over a period of time, she has shown us repeatedly how to be compassionate. My mom has told me several times, what it is to radically be generous and to be respectful to people in life. And I think many times when I look back, that is who I've actually become. She modeled a life in its simplicity. I would say a life that was lived through laughter and joy, even through the tough times. She literally says you can laugh away your tough times.
Man, is your mother looking to adopt a young lady from Eswatini?
I'll be your mother now that she has modeled me.
I think that's such a beautiful tribute, especially because we're just coming back from Mother's Day. So I really hope that she is actually listening or actually gets to hear this message coming through from you, because the one thing we do so well is we appreciate our parents in secret and never publicly. So I hope you do spread that love as much as you can to Mom. And we celebrate her and thank you for bringing us this dynamic, phenomenal woman in the form of Juliet. We appreciate Mom, we love her, and we thank you a lot. And then, Jules, a lot of times we like to focus on our success path and what's going right and all things along those lines. But what is the one thing that you would consider as a great failure in your life? And then a follow-up question from that would be, I mean, what have you learned from that? What are the lessons learned from that? Any good points? Any depressive moments? What was that looking like for you?
Oh boy, Cindy, I have fallen. If you would talk about failure, I've had multiple failures. I would probably think I could say it was the biggest, probably right now because it comes off head. I've had multiple. There was a particular project that we were working on. In fact, I think, yeah, my biggest failure was a project management failure. So in my first role as an IT specialist, about a decade plus ago, we were working on a bank expansion and replatforming project. And this project was coming from a merger of two big banks in the country. And guess what happened? I forgot to take, we were supposed to take I was working in the IT department, and I forgot to take a full system backup of a day's work at one particular branch. Mind you, this is an obvious thing for anyone in that role to do. So after running the scheduled updates and making all the necessary tests and everything, I and my supervisor, I think 40 minutes afterwards, late in the night, just realized that a full day's work was missing. We had to recall the branch staff at night to literally come and start reposting the work before the next open day to the customer. It was not fun at all. It involved a lot of stress. You're calling family people to come in, you're writing all these emails and apologies and all that. And definitely, yeah, it was not fun because it affected crucial timelines. What did I learn? I literally learned that I could never underestimate the power of every project task, planning, and communication. But most importantly, I learned to pay attention to detail. I believe there is a place and value for systems and processes in organizations, including simple things like verifying your checklist. The mistake I made there was that I did not pay attention to just a line in this checklist, and it was going to cost the bank. So I learned that neglecting a line in a checklist or a script can cost the bank billions of monies and hours of time, which is resource wastage. So I think that's literally one that came to mind, but there've been a couple of them, I can tell you, many of them.
All right, that sounds like a very interesting challenge. A very, very interesting challenge. And I love that, we have takeaways from that, because in all things that we do, good or bad, there's always something to take away from. There's always a lesson learned. There's always a way to do it better. But leading on to our next question, really, it's I'm pretty certain that at some point you had to experience some sort of criticism at some level when you made that horrendous mistake. Was that what did that happen to you? Did anybody start criticizing you for the mistake that you, an honest mistake in my view? I'm not an IT person, but because it could happen to anybody. But people can start criticizing you and just questioning your abilities to even perform. Did that happen? And if it did, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, definitely. And it was not just criticism of how could you forget this? It was criticism that could have cost me a job, I must say. I think it was by God's grace that I actually did not get an email asking me to pack my bags. I would say I have literally, and not even just that, I've faced a lot of criticism. I told you I'm an entrepreneur. You know, entrepreneurship, I do a lot of entrepreneurship support. It's like criticism keeps coming every day because, you know, that's literally the space that we live in. So it's been for me, I would say it's been a learning process for me. I would say I am becoming, or I would say I'm a work in progress. A decade ago, I seldom appreciated criticism. Why? I always looked at criticism, I viewed it as an attack on my personality. Every time you would come and probably share something like that, I always thought it was around my personality, it was attacking my self-worth. And one of the things I remember is I did not also differentiate criticism many times. Yet sometimes there is also constructive criticism. Like you look at the scenario I've just mentioned, when someone comes at you, it was literally, I messed up, and that was the time for people to call out this behavior. I believe many times it is either mainly how the criticism has been offered or who gives the criticism. However, over time, I would say with mentorship, with training, with a lot of exposure and applying many of our leadership skills and traits, I basically look forward to positivity that criticism has to offer, mainly and actively listening to the feedback. I usually get into the process of separating self-worth from the critique. I always look at viewing it as an opportunity to learn and improve. And these things help me keep an open mind. And where possible, I'm willing to own up my mistakes. Like that time, I had to own up my mistakes. It was open wide, 100%. I messed up, like I said. And many times I've found myself making efforts to recover from the feedback. When people give you the feedback, internalize it, reflect it. I call it taking an analysis around it. And if the situation warrants, I'm always prepared to apologize. I also try not to dwell too much on the criticism I receive, especially if I've taken remedial actions. Instead, I'll just look out for the positives from that are basically within my control and move on. So I would say it's been a journey. Previously, I was not like that, but over a period of time, I think I'm becoming better at criticism.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you're just talking about, over time, you've become better, you've developed, you've learned to internalize. I love that you mentioned, listen actively, because you can just listen and you say you're listening, but you're not really. As you're listening defensively. You're already waiting to answer before you even heard what's been said. So I love that process of actively listening and being able to just decipher, I'm going to take this from this criticism and I'm going to let this one go, and depending on how it's shared. I love those are very good key points. And I want to move on just slightly to, you're talking about the banking sector and you're basically your corporate background. How did you wind up in entrepreneurship? How did that journey begin? Where are we in entrepreneurship? What are we doing exactly in entrepreneurship? Because we've got the corporate background. How is Juliet the entrepreneur doing, and how did that even come about?
I'm an entrepreneur for sure and run a couple of ventures, but also fully engaged in entrepreneurship support. I work with multiple organizations in professional consulting roles, either as a trainer, as a facilitator, as a mentor, coach, advisor, probably board member, focusing on personal, professional, and business development. However, I'll speak about the organization, one of the organizations I've founded, and that is called Winpreneurs Africa. And Winpreneurs Africa is basically a for impact company. And here we just offer tailor-made business support to micro businesses that are looking to grow their profitability and impact communities. I was led into this space of entrepreneurship, I would say, because of my passion of being a problem solver, and specifically societal problems. I looked at so many societal problems that had a gap and needed support. And for me, it was just that area of coming with curiosity to say, how can we be able to address these problems for profit, for impact, or for both? So while I was just engaging in community, like I said, I find myself many times in community. I realized that entrepreneurs, and I started looking and hearing what entrepreneurs were saying. So I got my own definition of entrepreneurs. I said entrepreneurs are people who solve societal problems for a profit through impact, but by putting together people, processes, and property, and maybe working with partners to deliver demanded products and services. So I started saying, how can I be that person? I was driven by passion and compassion as well as necessity. How did I move to the beat of necessity? I've always hated poverty, Cindy. I tell people I hate poverty with a passion because I've experienced poverty. And one of the things is that I do not desire to see anyone experience poverty, especially if I can do something about it. I've seen poverty robbing individuals of their dignity and freedom to live flourishing lives. So looking at some of the individuals that I interacted with and how they were affected by the poverty, I started getting curious about utilizing these individuals' potential and how we could unlock their mindsets to offer homegrown solutions for their needs as a way of alleviating poverty. And this led me to this space. So what I'm basically doing is that I'm offering a solution which comes through products and services to the problems that they have in their societies. Some of those problems are unemployment. Some of them is reliance on a vast majority of the population on few formal jobs in the country. And I see this is a problem that is not only Uganda, it's also in Africa. So I just came in to offer a solution to that particular societal problem. So how can we create more jobs? Let's get people into business and let's help them build profitable, sustainable businesses so that they can create more jobs. Yeah.
I love it. Man, I'm moving to Uganda, guys. I think I need to be in Uganda. Very, very beautiful. Now, Juliet, you've answered a lot of my questions already, which is fascinating. But what I'd like to know from you is, if you had 10 times the budget given to you to do the work that you do, what would you spend it on and why?
Currently, I would say right now, I'm looking for partnerships that would foster expansion to other regions. First of all, in the country, and also access to external markets in this continent. This is how I see our impact being implemented and also measured well. This is how I see us getting brand visibility to all potential customers. This is how I see myself solving the issue of unemployment among the youth and women in Africa. This is how I see myself being a part of the leaders that are transforming communities in Africa and in Uganda. And if I got 10 times the budget, that's all I would spend it on.
Very, very clear. And that again also answers, I think it ties into the goal setting part, but clearly your goals are clearly set up and you know exactly if someone gave me 10 times of my budget, I know exactly what it is I do and how it is I get myself there. I just want to derail specifically for you and just talking to the part of Juliet, the speaker. How is that going? How did that come about? Because we've got Juliet, the corporate guru. We've got Juliet, the entrepreneur. We've also got of late Juliet, the speaker. We need to talk about that one. It was not on the script, or I didn't give you that question, but I'd love you to share about it anyway, because that's another area that you're doing phenomenally well these days. How did that come about?
I think that has come about, one time, Cindy, and it's I would say it's a combination of many things. It is something that has come from a couple of things that I call laws. So there's, first of all, the law of environment. Spaces that I've been in, spaces like this, where I'll speak about something, you call me to speak about something, either something within my industry, my expertise, something within the work that I do. So much of it came from that, the environments that I've been in. the communities I engage in, the networks I'm a part of, and there've been people that probably called out this potential before I even saw it. I wouldn't say that I was not the person who could actually speak, but I think there are people that kind of saw it at a much higher level and kept giving me opportunities to be able to speak. And over a period of time, one thing led to another. So that law of environment, I would say, in the network. So, you speak to at this event, and then another person probably at the event has an event, and then, that kind of thing. But I think most especially, this is the background where that comes from. So as I get to do the entrepreneurship and all the things that I'm doing, one time I read a book, and it's a famous book by one of the gentlemen. I'm trying to remember what the title is, but this book was talking about laws of success, and it says that your true worth he called it the law of value, and he says your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. So I literally went and reflected on that law, and I started thinking, okay, in the business, in all these other areas, I'm actually getting a lot of payment, but then that is not my true worth. It's part of it, but my true worth is literally how much I give in value. So I started using the speaking platform as an opportunity for me to give value. And over a period, it also transitioned. Some speaking engagements, it's just value and pro bono. Other speaking engagements attract a payment at the end of the day. So that's how I landed in this space.
Juliet, you are an absolutely phenomenal woman. I'd like to actually call you just an all-rounder. An all-rounder. There is no space that I couldn't fit you in. I'd place you anywhere and you'd possibly thrive, because I love the natural curiosity you have. I love the fact that you read about certain stuff. You want to just basically grow yourself further. And that is actually an inspiration a lot to young women that are listening in today. And so my next question really would be to you, what would you want to share to women, who are trying to get into entrepreneurship, thinking about it, possibly thinking they can speak but aren't confident enough? What would you have to share? Or those who want to thrive in the corporate sector? I mean, those who relate to all that you are, what would you like to share to them today as a word of encouragement, hope, continuity? I don't know. What would you like to share?
Lots and lots of things. I need a year to share with them, but I'll compress that in just a few minutes. I think for many of the ladies, and especially I speak to the ladies in Africa, I speak to the ladies in my country, I speak to every other lady out there aspiring to either become a leader or a person of influence in their community at any one time. One of the things that I will share from my personal experience is that you need to shed off your fear and just master your mindset. There are things that I have literally, there are spaces I've literally, when I look back, I could not even imagine getting into those spaces, but it comes from that faith, that whole area of being able to say, like no one right now, no one can tell me that I can't reach for my goals. I cannot. There was a moment, yes, when I had doubts and all those other things, but I've come to a level where I get to believe in my doubts. I mean, in my dreams. So maybe for many of the ladies that are out there, shed off that fear, go smash those goals and dreams, because the future is bright. Be consistently curious. One of the things that gets us into a space of being innovative when you look at the world that we are in is if you are curious, arouse your curiosity for once in every industry that you're in every space that you're in. Even as a mother, allow yourself to be curious. And then find your voice and do not be afraid to use it. Cindy, I find so many women who are so smart, but they literally are finding trouble getting their own voice. Find your voice. Each one of us has their own voice, and don't be afraid to use it. It will take you spaces. It's the one that makes you build relationships with people. You all know that we are better with others. Better comes when we are not alone, when we are with other people. Those are some of the things that are going to make you a better leader. And maybe lastly, let me just share this. This has been an encouragement to me many years. I told you that I love reading, and sometimes when I read some of these things, I just see how I can apply it. I also read somewhere, I told you I love laws. I don't know, probably because of my training and everything. I read somewhere in a book that talked about the law of compensation. And this thing just opened my mind to how we even need to do entrepreneurship. They say your income is determined by how many people you serve well and how well you serve them. If you literally look at that, it's just saying, what's your impact? This means you get to determine your level of compensation, lady. Like no one gets to determine that. You get to determine it. You get to increase your success. And how do you do that? Just serve more people and serve them well. There is no limit to what you can earn or achieve. Everyone can succeed because any one of us can actually serve. And we can choose how many people we are going to serve and how well we serve them. So for me, that has been a deal breaker for many years.
I love it. I love it. Servitude. Serve people well. Decide how many people you're serving. And as you're deciding, do it well. I also loved how you just mentioned, finding your voice. And I'm just going to expand with another question on that particular point. How do I even begin to find my voice? Where do I even start? Yeah.
I would say it's a combination of many things, Cindy. I think for me, I literally got to find my voice. I had to do a lot of reflection starting from like, who am I? There's a lot of self-awareness that has to come from within before you even get to discover that voice. Because like we said, it's your voice. So if you don't even get to discover that you have a voice, then it becomes a challenge. So there's a lot of self-awareness that goes on, getting to know, okay, what are my strengths? What am I good at? I keep telling people, if there's anything that has come to my knowledge around my awareness, is that I can encourage people. I have, like I can get into any space and I'll be able to encourage you. So then how does that play out in terms of my voice? I'm going to find communities. I'm going to get into spaces where that is basically what I get to offer. But there are also people who need that at the end of the day. So self-awareness that comes through, and it's not just self-awareness. After you've done the self-awareness, there's a lot of learning that needs to happen. Sometimes learning is happening on platforms like this, talking to people like you. I've literally said we can't be lone rangers in these spaces as women entrepreneurs and many areas. You can talk to people, get to ask, get to engage people, ask people to literally even talk about, ask them to share what they know about you, what they've seen about you. I've had so many moments when people see particular potential that I never saw. Someone will come out and say, oh, by the way, you're a great speaker. And you're like, what? I'm a great speaker. So being in spaces like those where people call out the best in us, people call out also our weaknesses that need to now become work in progress or continuous improvement, literally helps us find our voices. So there's a bit of that self-awareness of who you are, get into spaces where people are going to equip you, let you know there are tools. There are so many tools out there. There are so many spaces out there that can help us get to find our voice. And then the moment we find it, I usually say, use it, let it roll, let it go out. Yeah, I think those are just a few. There are a couple of them, but that could be a starting point for many of us.
Yo, it's most definitely a starting point for me. Here I am hosting a podcast. With all that you just said, I'm thinking, have I found my voice? So it's really insightful for me. It's very this episode is just educational, not just for those who are listening, but importantly for me. Now, most probably my second to last question because of time, Jules. It would be, if there could be one thing that people remember you for, what would that be?
Wow. This is what I've desired for people to remember about me. I want people to remember the problems I solved. I want people to say, Jules lived a blessed life. Jules loved. Jules laughed. And she loved her God. So when I look at that, I want people to be able to say she loved her God, she loved herself, she loved her family, and the community. Mark you in that order at the end of the day. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Now, Juliet, my last question, because I'm pretty certain that those who are listening through or listening in would love to know, where exactly do they find you? Where do they get a hold of you? Are we on social media? If I want to learn more, if I want to have one-on-one mentorship with you, where do I start looking?
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. So if you are in Kampala, definitely our offices are located in Tinda. We on Bimuli Estate, office number 9. If you're not in Kampala, you can literally check out our social media pages. We actually have a website that is winpreneursafrica.org. Get on Facebook, it is Winpreneurs Africa. Instagram is still Winpreneurs Africa. We are not yet on TikTok. So those are the different areas. If you need to probably drop an email, you can send your email to winpreneursug@gmail.com.
Juliet, my beautiful sister, it's been nothing but phenomenal to just spend some time with you, learn a bit more about you. Man, yeah, you've definitely caused me to grow in so many ways in just this few spaces of time. And I'm so excited that, of course, you're coming through for the I Am Win Conference 2024, which will be in Eswatini. So that's just an absolute phenomenal. So, if you want to hear more, see more, and see Juliet live, I would recommend that you do come to the conference, because she will be there in October, ready to ignite, inspire, empower, and above all things, encourage you today. So, Juliet, without further ado, my beautiful sister, I want to just thank you very much for joining us. And we really wish you all the best as you keep pursuing, keep impacting, keep changing lives, keep finding those solutions. And yes, being a phenomenal mom and wife too, we wish you all the best there. We also support your journey with Christ. We celebrate that a lot. And we're just so proud to even just know you. So my parting words to you, Juliet, are thank you so much, my beautiful sister. We can't wait to have you in Eswatini. I believe Eswatini has found gold by simply having you with us on the 5th of October. Looking forward to seeing you, Juliet. Thank you so much, my beautiful sister.
Thank you, Cindy. God bless you. Thank you for the work that you're doing as well. I'm looking forward to coming to Eswatini.
Thank you for tuning in to this month's episode of the Women of Crazy World podcast. Remember to share the link to your women's network on your social media platforms. And because we absolutely love to hear from you, do drop us a comment in the comment section below on how this episode has inspired you. Looking forward to learning and growing with you once again. So do join us next month at 3 p.m. for yet another live transformational episode. For now, it's goodbye from us.